All right. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending our annual Last Chance Grade Town Hall. My name is Mike McGuire, and I'm honored to be able to work with you in the State Senate. And we are here tonight in partnership with Congressman Jared Huffman, who has been a fierce advocate for this project at the federal level, along with Assemblymember Jim Wood, who I'm honored to work with each and every day. They have been co-hosts and partners all throughout, whether it's a town hall or securing the $50 million. We want to say thank you to these two gentlemen for all of their hard work. We're also joined tonight by two fierce advocates for this project. We have the chair of the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors, Jerry Hemmingson. Good evening, Supervisor Hemmingson. And of course, Supervisor Maston, the newest addition to the board, but incredible advocate for this project. We want to say good evening to the supervisor. Let's be clear. Getting a permanent fix to the last chance grade has been a top priority for all of us, and that includes Caltrans, who we are so incredibly grateful for with the work that has been performed over the last 2 years. This has been an all-hands-on-deck effort, and this project continues to advance on time and on budget. And we have never seen as much progress as we've had over the last few years. And these past few years have brought big milestones for the Last Chance Grade Permanent Improvement Project. Thanks to your advocacy, $50 million was secured to fully fund the geotechnical, the engineering, and environmental studies, which are moving forward even as we speak. Caltrans, well, they're getting closer to a preferred alternative route for the highway. They've gone from 7 original options for a alternative route, now down to a final 2. And the draft environmental report for the project, that will be released in 2023. Now, tonight, we're here to provide our annual progress report, and we can say this again, and we can't say it enough. The Last Chance Grade Improvement Project is on time and it's on budget. Our number one goal, unified front from the federal government, state government, and the county, as well as the city, is to start moving dirt on this permanent fix as soon as possible. Now, this evening, we want to hear from you. That's the most important part of this evening's town hall. It's easy to be able to connect and ask questions, provide comments, or any criticisms that you may have. You can drop your comment into Facebook. If you're watching us live via Facebook, simply drop your comment into the comment section now, or you can email us in real time tonight. We'll be taking your questions live. You can email us senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Feel free to email us your questions now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We also have several experts who are with us this evening, and we want to say good evening. We have several Caltrans management team members, as well as the project lead, Jamie Mattioli, who we'll be hearing from tonight. We want to say thank you to Jamie for all of his hard work. We, of course, have the district superintendent of California State Parks tonight. Good evening, Victor. He'll be here for any questions you may have for state parks. We want to say thank you to the superintendent of Redwood National and State Parks. Steve is with us tonight. Superintendent, it's good to see you. From the Federal Highway Administration, coming to us live, we have Matt with us this evening. Good evening, Matt. And of course, we have the Congressman Jared Huffman, who is coming to us live from the halls of Congress tonight. Congressman Huffman, thank you so much for your incredible work, your partnership, your advocacy. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you, Senator McGuire. Appreciate this town hall. Appreciate even more than that, the incredible work that you have put in as one of my partners at the state legislative level to make sure that we make meaningful forward progress on this solution to Last Chance Grade. So make no mistake, when it comes to the entire North Coast, I don't think there is a higher priority in terms of a transportation infrastructure crisis than finding this alternative route for Last Chance Grade. And we know it's complicated. We know it's going to be expensive. And that's why we've been putting in the work for several years now to bring stakeholders to the table and to try to build consensus, that most elusive of things in politics and just about everything else these days, consensus. But I think we've done incredible work. And the fact that we are on time and on budget to get this project through the environmental review process and on to the permitting phase so that we can then go to work to get it funded and built, I think is a testament to the team that we've built. You've been a huge part of that. Assemblymember Wood, thank you for all of your work. We're so glad to be joining with Supervisors Hemmingson and Maston and our partners at the local level, but this is a partnership at every level: tribal, federal, state, local, nonprofit, holding everybody together so that this thing doesn't break down into litigation, spawning years of delay, and conflict is so very important. We've been able to do that so far. And so I look forward to hearing a little more tonight from the folks that are trying to get this environmental review process over the finish line. It is very important that we do this on time and on budget, because the good news in this otherwise very complicated and maybe overwhelming story with last chance grade is that we're never going to have more resources to work with than we do right now. And so if we can get this done, you and I and everyone else can go shoulder to shoulder and try to bring down our share of that federal and state infrastructure funding that is right now available, and we can get this thing built. Thank you, Senator, for your leadership on this, and certainly pledge the continued commitment and cooperation from my team. We will be there every step of the way. We are going to get this done for the people of the North Coast, and I am excited to hear more tonight. Thanks for bringing us together.
Congressman Huffman, thank you. And Congressman Huffman's been incredibly modest, because he brought together originally the working group from all sides of this issue to ensure that there was consensus on the project. He has been working so hard and diligently on that, and we owe him a debt of gratitude. On a project this large and complicated, it was really important that someone took the lead, and that was Congressman Huffman. And sir, we want to say thank you, because you really have been driving that, and we are so appreciative of your efforts. Thank you so much, Congressman Huffman, and we are also joined by John Driscoll from his team as well tonight. Without further ado, we'd like to be able to turn the meeting over to Jim Wood. He's the Assembly member for the North Coast. He's chair of the Health Committee. No one works harder on behalf of the North Coast than Jim Wood. We want to say thank you, sir, for your incredible work. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for your partnership. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to you, Mike, and also to actually Senator McGuire, Congressman Huffman. I feel like we're all part of a big baseball team here. We just need a name for us. I don't know what we call ourselves, but anyway. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who's here tonight. This project's been a huge undertaking, and I'm continually grateful for the patience of the residents of Del Norte County and everybody who traverses that highway. In the end, Del Norte needs a reliable, safe travel road north to south. For me as a healthcare provider, I think about how important it is for local community to have a lifeline to the services they rely on, and especially around healthcare. So this project ultimately will provide a reliable connection through the region and reduce maintenance costs and road closures, something we all want desperately. And it is really amazing how well we're doing as far as schedule, as far as where we are in the process. And I'm excited to hear more about this as we go along tonight. So with that, I'm just going to be brief here. I'm going to turn on to our next person who is on the agenda is our Caltrans Deputy District 1 Director, Richard Mullen. Mr. Mullen, please take it away.
Great. Thank you, Assemblymember Wood. Well, good evening. My name is Richard Mullen. As mentioned, I'm the Deputy District Director for Caltrans in District 1 out of Eureka. And I want to echo what Assemblymember Wood said about the patience of everybody in the Del Norte County, Humboldt, and within the tribal community. I myself am a member of the Yurok tribe, and growing up in this area, work for Caltrans. I have family member in Del Norte, Klamath, and in this area. So with the patients, and also they have a quick phone call to me. It's nice to keep things moving, and I'm really proud to say that we are on track. I want to thank Senator McGuire, Congressman Huffman, and Assemblymember Wood for their continued leadership and support for this project. Last Chance Grade is a project with a purpose of creating a safe, reliable route for you, people of Del Norte, local tribes, and the travelers of the system. As mentioned earlier, it is a highly difficult, complex, and sensitive project that requires strong stakeholder engagement and partnerships. We wouldn't be as far as we are without having those things today. I'd like to also begin to acknowledge the time and attention of everyone here tonight. This sort of engagement is what will hold this project together as we continue to move forward. We're grateful to the tribes, partner agencies, and the many stakeholders who have dedicated countless hours getting us to this point in the advancement of this project. And I can't say it enough, it's been said before, proud to say that the Last Chance Grade project is on track. I do want to touch on the emergency work, and that's the work that's focused on keeping the existing highway open is progressing well. We are targeting two-way traffic to be open again in early 2023. As alluded earlier, the long-term project is on schedule and on budget. The Caltrans team has made steady and timely progress. We continue to look for any opportunity to accelerate progress. Jamie Mattioli, the project manager, will go into greater detail on this later in his presentation. Last Chance Grade continues to be the highest level priority for Caltrans. It's fully supported project at every level of the organization, from our new statewide director, Tony Tavares, to our fully dedicated project staff and consultant team. I want to thank you again for your time and attention tonight. We aim to be transparent and accountable in addressing your questions that you have. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Senator McGuire.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mullen. We're really grateful to you, to your team for all their hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about 109 folks strong. We want to welcome you if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or right here on Zoom. 109 strong here tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are taking your questions live. If you'd like to submit a question right now, simply email us, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We'll be answering your questions, your comments, and addressing your concerns here in just a few moments. But before we do, we want to say thank you to the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors. They have been on the front lines of this issue year in and year out. I want to be really blunt. One of the major reasons why we're able to secure this $50 million is because the advocacy of the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors. And the one who's been leading the way the longest has been the chair of the Board of Supervisors, and that's Jerry Himminson. We're really grateful that Supervisor Himminson is with us tonight. Mr. Chair, the floor is yours, and we welcome you to the annual town hall.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that so much. You know, I'm going to be repetitive because there's going to be a lot of thank yous going on here. You know, this is a room full of people that I could thank, you know, for a lot of time and effort that's been put into this. Congressman Huffman, who put together the stakeholders group, which I'm a member of and have been for some time. I really appreciate his support and everything he's done, bringing the tribes, the parks, the county, the chamber, the city, all these environmental groups, everybody to the table, Caltrans, and I know I'm leaving somebody out, and I don't mean to, but all those people that are there have great input and have had great input, you know, but we couldn't do this without the partnerships. This is an important artery for Del Norte County. Without it, we would not survive, and so we need this to be taken care of. We need to have two-way traffic, you know, we haven't had since 2014, and hopefully we will early next year. Looking forward to that. But, you know, I can't thank, you know, everybody here enough. Assemblymember Wood, Senator McGuire, Steve Metz, Victor, you know, all you guys are so important to this project, and it's so important that we stay focused on this project for Del Norte County, and I appreciate that. But I really, really got to put some kudos out there for Caltrans. I mean, they have been there, you know, keeping that road open, all the efforts that they've put in. You know, it is a little draining on the residents, you know, to have to deal with that. But you guys have stepped up. Caltrans has stepped up so big on this project to keep this road open. You know, we're afraid the road's going to fall away to the ocean, and we get it falling down on top of it. So we get it from both ends. And you guys I can't say enough how thankful and grateful we are for Caltrans to support this project and that it's on time and on budget, even though the timeline, is out there a ways. We realize there's a lot of stuff to do to get through this environmental process. And we are supportive of it 110%, and we're there whenever we can. But thanks again for everyone involved. And I'll give it back to you, Senator.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. We're really grateful for those words and honored to be working with you each and every day. This is the most critical transportation corridor on the North Coast. So thank you, Mr. Chair. She has been a champion for this project long before she was on the Board of Supervisors. We're grateful for her partnership, excited to be working with her. We'd like to turn the town hall over to Supervisor Masson. Supervisor, good evening. This is your home district and really important to you, to your family, and to the residents who you represent. Supervisor Masson, we'll have you take yourself off of mute. The floor is yours.
I do. Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, Senator. And I just want to reiterate how appreciative I am of this partnership that's been created to ensure that this road is on target and that we are moving forward as expediency as we can. Of course, my constituencies think that we are not moving fast enough, and I can truly understand that when their lifeline depends on having timely access to emergency services, because if that ambulance doesn't reach them in a timely manner, then their life is on the line. And so you can understand that and appreciate that. And you can appreciate that if you own a business and the goods and services can't reach you, or that your customers can't reach you in a timely basis, and they can't be there for that scheduled time for their reservations, then you're impacted. So they're still facing that. And I just want to remind you, because that's why you're all working so hard to ensure that this road stays open and that we're on target. It's because of how it is impacting the people who live there and depend on that road and the access that we need to make our medical appointments, or to have that ambulance reach us in time, or to ensure that our businesses, have the goods and services they need, and that the customers are able to reach us. And so I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you for the work that's been done. And I'm looking forward to working with you to ensure that we stay on target and that we stay on budget, and that we provide for that alternative, as speedily as we can, so that that we have a permanent solution to this, because people are still fearful of their life. And when they take a look at the road conditions, it's understandable. And thank you for the opportunity. And, I really do appreciate everything that the congressman and the senator and the assemblyman and, Caltrans and then the Park Service has done to ensure that, this project is moving forward.
Supervisor, it's good to see you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Supervisor will be with us here for the duration of the event. Ladies and gentlemen, I now would like to turn it over to Assemblymember Wood to focus on our next panel. Assemblymember.
Apologies for the delay there. So our next speaker is going to be Caltrans project manager. We've been hearing his name a lot. You're actually going to hear from him in person now. This is a big welcome to Jamie Mattioli for an update on the project. So take it away, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Wood, and thank you everyone logged in, tuned into this presentation tonight. Really appreciate your attention. So I'm just going to be brief here, about 10 minutes, and cover these 3 items here. The context and history of the project, just briefly, and then what are we doing? What are the key steps that we're taking, the key actions moving us forward, and then a look at the project schedule. What's the next steps coming? So Caltrans has 2 jobs at Last Chance Grade. The first job is to keep the highway open and keep it safe. And the second job is to find a long-term solution. As Richard shared, job number 1, we expect that the current work should be completed in early 2023 and two-way traffic will be restored at that time. But there's been a lot of other work happening that, going back the last 10 years, Caltrans has built or rebuilt, reconstructed 10 retaining walls. And that's in addition to performing the repair work, repairing the damage from this landslide that happened in February of 2021. And that work is now complete. And that's the landslide shown in these pictures here. And now focusing for the rest of the presentation on that second job, working towards a long-term solution. Just briefly, we all know this, but for a bit of context, these are the major challenges that we face, the top three. And that's one, the environmental sensitivity and the complexity of this area. Two, maintaining partnerships with groups that have diverse needs and diverse interests. And three, understanding this complex geology so that we can understand the long-term risks associated with each of these project alternatives. And we hear the urgency. While we have these major challenges, we do look for every opportunity to accelerate the project and to reduce costs. So just very briefly, I'll look at some of the project history. Just going back to 2015, we've heard about this tonight when Congressman Huffman initiated his stakeholder group. And something major has happened every year, but I'll just focus recently in 2019 when California Transportation approved funding for the environmental phase, $50 million, thanks to support from people on this call. In 2020, we were able to secure a contract with our consultant, HNTB, for $31 million. And in late 2021, November, we held our public scoping meeting, and that was the official kickoff for the environmental document where we share the scope of the two alternatives and the scope of the environmental document itself. And it's been said multiple times that public engagement is what's holding this project together. We get a better product at the end, and it's also reducing risks of delays and cost increases. And we're so grateful for the partners and stakeholders taking time and attention on this project, and especially the 5 tribes involved with the project who have hosted us at their tribal council meetings. Recently, our partners have asked for quarterly project updates, and we've provided those. Those are now being posted on our website, lastchancegrade.com. Since that 2020 notice to proceed, there's been a few major things that have happened that have kept us on track. First listed here is completing the second and third phases of geotechnical investigations, flying in drill rigs into the state parks within Redwood Forest and getting the data we need. And that data and the analysis has shaped the alternatives analysis, has shaped the project description, those key steps that we need to move forward. And I want to note, we didn't have controversy of any sort of doing that geotechnical work. And that's thanks to the engagement and the collaboration of our partners, especially state parks and national parks. We performed an alternative analysis. We heard about this, moving from 7 to 2 alternatives. I'll talk a bit more about that. We completed our public scoping. And the big deal is that we've just completed our project description. I'll get into that a bit. I know folks are still very interested in this topic. How did we end up with 2 alternatives? Well, it was the public input and field studies that got us down to 7 alternatives. And then we're looking at the cost and time needed to complete detailed studies for all 7 alternatives. And we met with our stakeholder working groups to see if we could reduce that even further to focus on the best solutions available. We looked at the impacts, the environmental impacts, the time required to build and study these alternatives, how well they would work. And we found that 5 of the alternatives, they would take longer to build, they have greater impacts, and they wouldn't work as well. So by not studying these alternatives in greater detail, Caltrans is able to save what we expect to be $10 million and shorten the schedule by 1 year. Since that time of narrowing down the alternatives and holding the public scoping meeting, we've been focusing on this one key engineering deliverable. That's the project description. And the project description is exactly what it sounds like. It describes the work we're doing, and it provides the maps and graphics so that we can see what it looks like. The project description is what allows our environmental team to advance the technical reports and keep the whole environmental process on track. And to get the project description done, we needed the best science, the best engineering, the geotechnical analysis, and information from our partners and stakeholders so that we could refine the two project alternatives. And here's an example of refining the alternative F, the tunnel at the northern end. So this map is has north pointing up. That black line shows the existing highway. And that dark green area is showing this area that has the larger trees. And you can see an example here in the photo. Previously, we had this blue dashed line was our proposed alternative. And it was going through this area. And thanks to the geotechnical work, the analysis, the studies, we were able to shift this alignment further to the west to an area we know is stable and feasible. And that allows us to reduce the impacts to trees. It also allows us to shorten the length of a bridge, and that reduces cost of the project. Other work on alternative F, we are developing plans for an operations and maintenance center. This is a one-story building that will house the safety operations, the emergency operations for the tunnel. And our team was able to find a design solution that will minimize visual impacts in this key area that's visible from the coastal trail. We've also refined the location, the geometrics, the shape of the tunnel itself, resulting in a shorter tunnel. We're now at about 6,000 feet. And the tunnel has been simplified. It's no longer two separate bores. It's one single tunnel. And that allows us to simplify construction and reduce costs. Alternative X is the end-to-end re-engineering of the highway in its current location. After meeting in the field in February with our team, we performed a constructability review. We were able to propose improvements to the existing geometry. So that's the shoulder widths. We're looking here at an area about 0 to 4 foot shoulders. The new proposal is to have 6 to 8 foot shoulders throughout. That'll provide a smoother drive. We're straightening out some curves. We're also retreating, moving east in 2 areas, 100 feet at the south and 150 feet there at the north. That'll provide protection from erosion at the coast. And we reduced the scale of retaining walls. We had some areas that had multiple walls tiered up the hill. Now we're down to one area with that tiered wall, and that's reducing costs, reducing impacts. So the result of all this preliminary engineering work is that the project remains on budget and on schedule. Our budget of $50 million, we've spent approximately half of that to date, $25 million. And we expect to stay on track and stay on budget within that budget by the end of the environmental phase. And the project is on schedule. This graphic shows the schedule. There's a lot of information here. But if we focus just on that second year now, that 2022, where we currently are, we can see that we've just completed our project description and we're preparing this draft environmental document. And the next steps are circulating that document in late 2023, and when we'll have public hearings so that we can ultimately select that preferred alternative in 2024 and begin working with the permit agencies and working towards a final environmental document in 2025. At that point, we can begin the design work leading up to construction of the project. So again, this is a challenging project. We have a dedicated team. We have the right people in place. We have partners and stakeholders who are very supportive, and it's going to take all of us, Caltrans, our partners, our stakeholders, and the community continuing to work together to find a reliable, safe, and sustainable long-term solution at Last Chance Grade. And with that, I'd like to hand it back over to Senator McGuire.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mattioli. Very grateful. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to turn it back over to Assemblymember Jim Wood, who's going to be taking us into questions and comments. We want to remind folks, we're going to be taking your live questions tonight. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov, Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Send us your questions, comments, concerns. But, Mr. Assemblymember, we have had a few dozen questions come in with some concerns, some focuses on the project. Let's turn it over to you to kick us off.
Great. Well, thank you, Senator. Our first question comes from Christopher Harper. Actually, a couple of questions here. So these could be for you, Jamie, so don't run away, okay? And the first question is, why are the existing roads between Miller, Relham, Hamilton Road, and Wilson Creek not a viable option?
The major reason is that those roads are not designed for highway speeds. And we've looked at alternatives that go east and could use that sort of terrain. As I mentioned before, I showed the slide where we compared the east side alternatives. Those were the best east side alternatives we had. Going north on those other roads, those weren't in the top for those ideas on the east. And yeah, so they just didn't rise to the top. They were considered.
Great, thank you. And then the second part of that question is, I'm thinking of your earlier response. I'm not sure this one's relevant, but we'll ask it anyway. How does moving the existing road to the top of the problem area make any sense at all?
I'm not sure if I totally understand the question, moving the road to the top of the problem. So there are two alternatives. One of them is the tunnel. The tunnel is the avoidance alternative. The tunnel avoids the landslide. And it's the shortest tunnel shortest possible tunnel that can avoid that landslide. Alternative X is the mitigation alternative. It acknowledges that you can.
Sure, I have one, Senator, and I'll turn it right back over to you. This one, Jamie's coming over to you. This is from Carol. Carol's wanting to know why we don't move the last chance grade much further inland. So can you just give a little bit of a deep dive on how you came up with those two preferred alternatives, how that worked, and why not go further out versus the two that you have now? That question came in from Carol.
Yeah, absolutely. So we used this collaborative process to make the decision. It involved all four of our working groups. The short answer is it's more expensive. It costs more in terms of moving earth and in terms of mitigation. The terrain is mountainous, it's steep. To provide a highway that's designed to highway standards, we would end up moving a minimum of 5 million to 6 million cubic yards of material, and you got to do something with it. If you're going to get rid of that material on site, it would require a couple hundred acres disposed in forest lands that would have to be purchased and mitigated. The impacts would be severe, the mitigation costs would be severe, the construction costs would be high. So what we found was that the tunnel was the least expensive overall alternative that avoids the landslide. Happy to dig into that more, but I think that's the key facts there, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mattioli. He's the project manager for Caltrans and Last Chance Grade. Senator Wood, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Senator. So this one comes from Crescent City Councilman Ray Altman. And the question is, I want to confirm that both alternatives have the same projected lifespan of 75 years. So he says it seems like an important question when alternative X could be less expensive, even though it seems like a tunnel would have a longer lifespan. So thoughts on that one?
Yeah, we're assessing the risk associated with each alternative. You would assume at least a 75-year lifespan for each alternative. And the question that's outstanding is, what's the risk of some sort of landslide event that would create problems we see today or lesser problems? And that's we're sorting that out. So that's an important consideration. But at least, both alternatives would have at least 75-year lifespans.
Perfect, thanks. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you so much, Senator. This one comes in from Eric. There's some comments to this as well as a question. Eric emailed us at senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Again, we're taking your questions, your comments, your criticisms live tonight, all issues of the last chance grade. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. All right. So Jamie, Eric writes in, this has been a problem for decades. Eric says that he's been traveling from McKinleyville to Crescent City for 2 decades and nothing has improved. He's had to spend nights in hotels and make 9-hour detours to get home when the route has been closed due to landslides. And Eric says nothing improves. Eric goes on to say, you talk of stakeholders, who are they and why do they seem to put roadblocks in the way of solving this problem? I'll just take a quick chime in here. So first and foremost, I think we all agree that the current situation and the situation that has got us to where we're at today is simply unacceptable. Never before has this project moved like it has over the last few years. We finally have 50 million in the bank to be able to complete all of the federal and state environmental studies, all the geotechnic reports, to be able to get to a preferred alternative. Once we have a preferred alternative, then we go secure the funding to get that preferred alternative built. As far as the stakeholder process, the reason why the congressman has brought together the stakeholders is to ensure that we have a smooth process once we have an alternative identified. But Jamie, Eric has concerns about that stakeholder process. You want to talk about, he asked who's on there and how this process has worked.
Absolutely. So we have 4 working groups. One of those is Congressman Huffman's working group, and that stakeholder working group includes a cross-section of people that represent folks in the community. So governments, local governments, city, county, tribal members, tribal governments, business, Chamber of Commerce, the 2 parks, Green Diamond, EPIC, Save the Redwoods League, Friends of Del Norte, and possibly a few others I'm leaving out. That's one of the working groups. We have a partner group, and that partner group is made up of the land managers that are responsible for land in the area. So Victor and Steve, responsible for the parks. Green Diamond are neighbors to the east, responsible for their lands, and the tribes who have responsibility for the lands. So the land managers have a group, the partner group, that meets regularly. And that group decided, hey, we need our experts, our scientists, our engineers, our archaeologists. We need them to have their own forums. So that's the biological working group and the cultural resources working group. So the expert level people are meeting on a regular basis, solving problems. I think it's a fair question, what roadblocks are in the way? The biggest roadblock is the process itself. The biggest roadblock is just the sensitivity of the environment. I'll be the first to admit, it's difficult to understand why the process is so hard, takes so long. I'll raise my hand and say that as a project manager. It's like, I'm often asking that, why does this take so long? What are the steps here? And when you just do the math, they just add up to what it is. It's amazing what it is, but that's what it is. We have environmental laws, we have CEQA, the California law, we have NEPA, the federal law. We have to follow them. We have to get permits. And I've seen no roadblocks from our partners. I've seen our partners come to the table, help us get things done. Things have gone really smooth. The example of flying into Victor's State Park. He's responsible for that park, and he wants to preserve it forever. There's no amount of time on it. It's forever. And he let us use helicopters to fly in drill rigs and get the information that we need to move forward. That's just one example. Our partners at the county enabled us to get the permits needed. So we've seen an incredible amount of support. We have EPIC at the table. We have Green Diamond at the table, having lunch and solving problems together. So that's what I've seen so far in the stakeholder process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mattioli. Mr. Wood, please fire away.
Yeah, obviously we get a lot of questions about timelines, and we obviously, and it was really, really great news to hear that we're going to have two-way traffic opening up sometime in 2023. That's going to be a big time saver and really, really welcome news to a lot of folks. So one of the timeline questions is, when do you anticipate a preferred project will be arrived on? I mean, we've come a long ways, obviously, all those options down to 2 now. And so there is at what point will we actually get to a point where we've got an option nailed down? And then there's and later on, I've got some follow-up questions related to that. So.
Great question. So we circulate our environmental document in late 2023, and that's the draft environmental document rather. And then we receive comments from agencies, from anybody in the public, and those comments will help inform the decision of the alternative. So the goal is in 2024, we've decided what alternative we're moving ahead with. And then we can begin to work with our permitting agencies doing this key coordination that's needed. There's a federal consistency with the Coastal Commission. That's a key step, and that's probably going to govern the schedule. So 2024 is the answer, Assemblymember.
Great, thanks. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you so much. Barbara writes in, Jamie, wanting to know about any potential road closures during the permanent phase of the construction. So I think it's going to be dependent on the route, what will be chosen, but Mattioli, take it away.
Yeah, so alternative X would have greater impacts on the traveling public. There would be more delays similar to what we're seeing now, where you have one lane traffic. It could be for 3 to 5 years. We would do our best to minimize impacts to the traveling public. The alternative F, the tunnel, most of the work is happening off the alignment. So there would be a few times when we're connecting to the road where there could be closures, and there could be some intermittent closures needed if we're moving large items, for example, large equipment. So those could be temporary closures of a half hour, things like that. But for the most part, alternative F has minimal impacts to the traveling public.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mattioli. Assemblymember Wood and I are going back and forth on all questions. Please, Assemblymember Wood, take it away.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just, and really more of a comment, I think at this point, and there were a lot of questions related to, you know, what kinds of delays will we be looking at? And obviously, as you get to a point where you have a preferred plan or the plan going forward, that's going to dictate a lot. And those makes it hard to answer questions like that based on 2 alternatives on the table at this point. So that, you know, just know going forward, that's going to be at top of a lot of people's concerns going up and down the highway there. With that, you know, and actually, honestly, Mike, a lot of questions I have here, a lot of them have been answered. So at this point, so I'm going to be dependent on you to grab some more of these. Okay.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Assemblymember. We have about 10 more minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. So if you'd like to be able to send in your questions, we have experts from state parks, from state and national parks. We have the Federal Highway Administration with us. We have members of the Board of Supervisors. We've brought all the experts together tonight to be able to answer your questions, address your concerns about the Last Chance Grade project. We want to get to a few more comments and questions. Elias writes in saying, Bo writes in, when are you folks going to talk about the real problem up here on the North Coast, and that is the price of fuel? Are you scared to talk about it? No, Bo, we're not scared to talk about it. Well, here's what I'll say. The price of fuel, the price of groceries, it's impacting the livelihood of Californians, whether you live in Crescent City or down in Culver City in Southern California. And that's why the legislature is advancing the largest tax break in state history that will turn $9 billion of the surplus, rightfully so, back to taxpayers to be able to help deal with the rising cost of fuel, as well as the rising cost of goods, including groceries. Now, the one ironic piece of all of this is that gas tax is funding this project. Out of the 50 million, the vast majority of those gas tax dollars come from south of Del Norte County. And if we're being really honest, I think the vast majority of folks who live in Crescent City get their gas in Oregon. So I know that's not a popular thing to say, but I just want to speak the truth that the state of California is advancing the largest tax rebate in a generation. It's actually in our history, over $9 billion being returned to 95% of the families who live in this state to be able to get a direct check, to be able to assist with gas prices, rising gas prices, and food prices. So just want to have some straight talk, and anytime that you have concerns, please contact Assemblymember Wood's office or my office. But Assemblymember Wood, anything else you have to say on that specific issue?
Yeah, just to follow up and reiterate what Senator McGuire said. I think you look at a project like this, we're getting in Del Norte County more than our fair share of resources out of some of the gas tax money that's gone on for the last several years. And that 3-cent tax that was everybody talks about in the media really wasn't a tax on the consumer as much as it was on distributors. And I'd just like to emphasize the fact that, you know, the budget is putting money back in people's pocket. Would we like it to be $10,000? Of course we would, but realistically, this is a massive break for people. It's real money in pockets, and it's going to make a big difference. We recognize that in rural communities, when gas prices go up, everything gets more and more expensive. Recognize that. And Senator McGuire and I are constantly beating the drumbeat of what it's like to represent rural counties and the folks who live there, because many people think that that's actually less expensive to live in a rural county sometimes. And in some areas it might be, but when it comes to food and transportation, it's not. And so we are constantly beating the drum on that, and we're looking out for you. And like I said, the gas tax money that's been raised and spent so far, Del Norte's getting a nice proportional share out of that, much more than a lot of other areas are. And I'm really happy about that for the sake of the county.
It's Assemblymember Jim Wood talking all issues of gas tax and how we're funding the Last Chance Grade project. Let's go to our next question that came in tonight. This one is from Sandra. This is going to Mr. Mattioli. Sandra writes in, what's the plan if the current route is closed down for months? I assume Sandra's asking about if we have a large earthquake and we see a large mudslide, rock slide close the route for months. Mr. Mattioli, if you want to talk about what the contingency plan is if we see a catastrophic closure like that for the current Highway 101 route.
Well, we would immediately have an emergency declared, and we would have whatever work that's needed would be funded. I'm sure Matt Schmitz could speak to that if needed. But there's always a hill to retreat into. We look at other landslides in California, and when there's a big event, it can shut down the road. And we know that's a huge deal. In Crescent City, it is your lifeline. You know, it's your local road. So it would be, we say any closure a day is a huge deal. So there would be a big impact, and Caltrans would work to come up with the best solution to fit the situation and get to work. It could be a situation that takes days to clear. There could be things that take a week, but there's always a hill to dig into there. Matt Schmitz, is there anything else you think should be added to that, please?
Well, it's a fact. The Emergency Relief Program through the Federal Highway Administration is available after damage occurs and a disaster is declared. May seem like a lot of money, but it's really not. It's $100 million a year available for the entire country. So floods in Iowa, hurricanes, earthquakes, that $100 million federally gets tapped and then some. And also, my experience, Jamie, is, and yours too, rarely does an event damage exactly the part of the road that you'd really like to get financial help for, and just enough damage to get free additional assistance. Almost always, while maybe newfound money comes in, the damage really becomes a big problem. So that's just to say that it is available. I'm not sure I would hope for just the right amount of damage to occur to get additional federal funds, but it's out there if needed. And of course, we've seen real examples over the years of funding going in to projects around and in the last chance grade limits.
Thank you so much. That's Matt Schmitz. He is from the Federal Highway Administration. Thank you so much, Matt, for your partnership and, of course, to the agency's work as well. And I think it can be said is if we have a catastrophic event, like a large mudslide, the state is going to spend what it takes to get the route open. That's the bottom line. We will move on it within hours of the event. And we also will be working collaboratively with the State Office of Emergency Services, who will work with the Del Norte County Office of Emergency Services on any issues of medical transport or supplies. We have had coordination meetings on that, but the bottom line is this. there will be no moss under our feet if we see a catastrophic failure. We will move on it within hours, and it will be the same approach, but on a much grander scale. We've seen Caltrans move on some of these smaller slides that have had a significant impact on the current roadway. We're going to be hearing from our partners at state parks as well as national parks in just a moment. We're going to turn it over to Steve and to Victor to see if they have any comments this evening in just a couple of minutes. But we have two more questions here tonight. Let's go to Richard. Richard writes in, seems like you're still doing a tunnel. Isn't there a great deal of inherent risk with the tunnel? Carbon monoxide, question mark. Mr. Mattioli, you want to touch base on Richard's question on the potential tunnel?
There are a lot of safety systems that are required in a tunnel. One of those is ventilation. There's fire safety systems, there's evacuation safety systems. So those are all part of the scope of the tunnel. Giant fans moving air around. There's a pressurized footpath. So if you break down in your car, you would stop, you would walk 100 feet at most to a door, you would get in the door, and now you have a pressurized corridor where you can safely exit the tunnel. So all those safety systems are robust, and they're part of the scope of the project.
Thank you so much, Jamie Mattioli, project manager for Last Chance Grade. We're going to go to another question. Matt writes in, where is the money going to come from to build the new alternative? That's the $1 million question, Matt, and we can get right to it. 30 seconds or less, and Assemblymember Wood, feel free to chime in on this, Mr. Mattioli. So look, here's what we need right now. We need to be able to have Caltrans identify what the final preferred alternative is going to be. Once we have that and the environmental has been completed, we start going after the funding. And here's what I'll tell you. It has been an all hands on deck effort to be able to secure that $50 million that's allowed us to get as far as we have. Assemblymember Wood and I have already started having conversations with the State Department of Transportation on the Last Chance Grade project. In fact, we've had two previous directors of Caltrans come up to the Last Chance Grade project area. We've had the California Transportation Commission come host a meeting in Crescent City and tour the Last Chance Grade. And we're going to do the same with this brand new director of Caltrans, invite him up. He's from the San Francisco Bay Area, then spent some time in LA. Now we need to get him up to come see the Last Chance Grade as well. Assemblymember Wood and I, at least on the state side, have been doing a full court press. And Congressman Huffman is doing the same, by the way, when it comes to federal. And he has been incredibly fierce on that advocacy on the federal front. But Assemblymember Wood, that's how it's going to run, don't you think? And we have not stopped. Even though we're still in the environmental phase, we're working to be able to secure those dollars on the state side, and Congressman Huffman is doing the same on the federal. But Assemblymember Wood, please, on this issue.
Yeah, no, this is Mike, Senator hit it right on the head there. It's a constant keeping this in front of the right people and making sure that this continues to be a high priority. And obviously, our federal partners are going to be absolutely critical in this project. A lot of these projects, I'm not going to jump in and put it all in the hands of the federal government, but typically on these large interstate projects like this, or interstate highways like this, a large part of the funding comes from the federal government. So we're going to really work and rely a lot on our relationships with Congressman Huffman, our state senators, our U.S. senators as well, who are going to be really helpful here. And then obviously working closely with Caltrans on our state match that we go along with. But that keeping all this in front of people is the critical thing right now as we look for where we end up with that alternative. And once we have that alternative, we have a dollar amount. That's when things get fierce. That's when things get really, really serious. And trust me, we're going to be fighting for every penny, every dollar we can get, and make it happen.
It's Assemblymember Jim Wood, who has been absolutely fierce on this project. Let's go to Deputy District Director Richard Mullen for a comment, please.
Yes, thank you. One thing that we're doing right now is great for the future. Our progress and our unified front and our success that we're doing is laying the foundation for our accountability. Each year, when the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, authorized us the $50 million for the environmental phase, part of it was to come in to them once a year to give a presentation on the progress. We have been doing that and have been grateful that we've been able to report success after success. Though that foundation is key to when that time comes, when we're, as Assemblyman was talking about, going and talking about the money, that lays the foundation for successful delivery. So I just want to emphasize our efforts right now are leading the path for success in the future. A unified front is very, very key from every stakeholder has been mentioned tonight, and we're on the right track right now. And I'm very proud of this team. Thanks, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mullen, Caltrans, Deputy District Director. We're really grateful. All right, so we're going to turn it over to our partners at State Parks and Redwood National and State Park here to be able to hear from each of the superintendents if they have any comments that they'd like to be able to make on the last chance grade project. And let's just be clear, we wouldn't be at where we're at now without Victor. Victor has been active and engaged and just a sincere partner in this. Mr. Superintendent, we'll turn it over to you on behalf of State Parks. Any comments that you may have this evening, then we'll go over to Steve.
I'd just like to acknowledge that process that's been driven by Caltrans has been terrific. I'm taxed with protecting resources, natural and cultural resources. That's something that's entrusted to my area as a land manager. I don't want impacts to those areas. I also realize that, and the state realizes, this is a critical transportation highway. People need to have a roadway going through there. So the process has been developed is to make the safest, or determine the safest route, whether you look at the geology, looking at the potential impacts to natural resources, cultural resources, and to minimize those as much as we can. And I'm grateful to everyone you see here, as well as all the folks in those partner groups for agreeing to a process and coming to a consensus. And that's what this has all been. It's really been a consensus. Everybody's bringing their expertise to the table to come up with a solution to keep this, economic stream going that we call a highway.
Absolutely, Victor. It is the most critical transportation corridor that we have on the North Coast and one of the most important economic corridors as well. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Very grateful for your partnership. We are now going to be turning it over to Stephen. He's Superintendent of Redwood National and State Parks with the U.S. Park Service. Mr. Superintendent, good evening. Thank you for your partnership. We look forward to your comments, sir.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Victor was saying, yeah, I echo everything that he said and that it's been really an excellent process that Jamie's been leading all the stakeholders through to get us to this point. And I feel like he's bringing a very diverse group forward to make sure that when we reach a final alternative, we are all in agreement and that we've built a safe road and that we've mitigated as many of the impacts as we can upon these majestic redwood forests that we're all here and we all love. And like Victor said, our dual mandate in the Park Service is to provide access to these redwoods as well as protect them. And this project fits very well into that. And I just want to emphasize that, and for Victor and myself, our staff that are on all these stakeholder committees and on all these technical committees, this is their top priority. When there's a meeting called by Caltrans, we make every one of these meetings and we make this our top priority. I think I can confidently say we've never missed the deadline. In fact, I think we're early on most submittals. I see Jamie shaking his head. Thank you. And so I feel like when I hear about roadblocks, I just want to really clarify that me and Victor are partners with Jamie and the crew there at Caltrans to make sure this project moves forward as quickly as possible and that we get the best bang for the buck for the taxpayer, build a safe road, and also protect the redwoods. And I do believe that can happen here and that through this process, we're making that happen.
Mr. Superintendent, we are grateful for your leadership, your partnership. Thank you so much. We're going to be turning it over to Matt from Federal Highways here in just a moment to be able to offer any comments. Then we're going to go to our panelists to be able to look for closing comments. We'll start with Mr. Mattioli, then we'll go to Assemblymember Wood, then to Supervisor Masson and Supervisor Hemminson for closing comments. But before we do, let's check in with Federal Highways Administration. Matt Schmitz. Matt, any comments that you have in general on the last chance grade project?
Well, there's a lot of rah-rah here, and I'll tell you, it's more than just feel good. I can tell you, I've seen so many efforts on projects in rural and urban communities, big, medium, small. This project is on par with the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. It's an engineer's, for Jamie and Richard, it's an engineer's project of a lifetime. And it's in an environment that all of the folks that are living up there and really desiring safety and mobility, I know you're also very interested in that environment. You can't make up, in my opinion, a more complicated and worthwhile project. I don't pick projects. I'm a guy that moves money around, but I am involved, and I can tell you the traction that I've seen in the last few years, it's real. I know it feels very painfully slow to a lot of our friends here on in the forum. It does feel slow, and I've seen a lot slower. Hard to believe, but it's true. And when you have the complexity, Mother Nature and the geology and the environment and the funding challenges, I'll tell you, for me, I see real movement here in the last couple of years. It feels glacial, but it's real. And I do want to say, aside from the regular federal funding that I know at least all the panelists are quite familiar with, the bipartisan infrastructure law that was signed in November, there's talk about gas tax and who likes taxes, but one of the outcomes is there are discretionary grant programs in addition to the gas tax that comes in by formula to California. There are competitive discretionary grant programs. And I don't pick the projects. Cities, counties, state DOTs apply and compete for funds, but bridge investment program, for example, and funding for tunnels and large and small projects, there's additional funding to be pursued. And I'll say this project is becoming much more poised to be competitive because it's gone from, hey, we have a real need here and some ideas. It's becoming more real. These alternatives are becoming more tangible and finite and describable. And I will say that I'm at least hopeful that this project could compete well. The question about where's the actual construction funding going to come from? There's the traditional funding that we're familiar with, but there's additional funding to be pursued. So I love to see the progress that's being made because ideas don't usually get a second look. Real progress and defined projects that have gone through this painful NEPA and CEQA process, but come out the other end, those have the best chances of competing. So I'll leave it at that. I wouldn't have been able to say that 3 years ago. I would have said, boy, there's a real need here, and I wouldn't have had much else to say. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. Matt's from Federal Highway Administration, amazing partner. Just want to say thank you. And he has a lot of territory that he has to cover, and we're really appreciative of his work on behalf of the North Coast. And of course, who's been leading has been Jared Huffman, our Congress member. So just want to say thank you again to Congressman Huffman, who was with us in the beginning, literally stepped out of a meeting at the House of Representatives to be able to give his update. And we're really grateful to that. And we also want to say thank you to Assembly Member Jim Wood, who has been on this project from the very beginning. We do all of our meetings together on this project in Sacramento. Assemblymember Wood, we're going to turn it over to you for any closing comments. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, Senator, and it's always a pleasure partnering with you on this. Trying to keep up with you is always a challenge. So as we pedal down the highway together, but I think about projects like this and putting all the work that goes into the preliminary processes and all the studies and everything that goes along with something as complicated as this. Once this construction actually begins, it'll seem like that's a distant memory, and things will go fairly quickly in the big picture. But all of this preliminary work is so absolutely critical to success. And I just want to say, I recognize and I want to say once again, thank you to the people who live in Del Norte County and everybody who travels through it for their continued patience and bear with us. When we hear our federal partners say 3 years ago that we might not have given this project much of a chance potentially, other than recognizing the problem, that it's there. And where we are now, that's major progress here. And so we're not going to quit. We're going to keep pushing forward. And as the further we go, the more momentum we build, and this project's going to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Assemblymember Jim Wood. Thank you so much. Co-host of tonight's big event, as well as a 100% partner in securing the additional dollars that we're going to need. Thank you, Assemblymember Wood. It's wonderful to see you. We're now going to look to closing comments from our partners at the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors. Let's turn it over to Home District Supervisor. Last chance grade is in our district. Supervisor Masson, closing comments. The floor is yours. Oh, Supervisor, you're on mute. So you're good. Supervisor Masson has been on the road all day today throughout the county, and she continues to do this from her mobile office this evening. They're really grateful. Supervisor Masson, we'll turn it over to you for any comments. Why don't we do this, Supervisor Masson? We're going to come right back to Supervisor Masson. Let's go to Chair Hemmingson, and we'll have Supervisor Masson work on that. Chair Hemmingson, closing comments. Want to say thank you so much for your amazing work, sir. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Senator. Again, all I can do is say thank you to everyone across the board. I like what Matt said, traction, focus and traction. I think that's the big thing, and that's what we've got to keep. We have to keep motivating ourselves to keep that focus and traction on this project so that it does come to completion. And I have no doubt, like Assemblymember Wood said, we are going to finish this project. We are going to do it, and let's keep the focus on it. So I appreciate your efforts, Senator, Assemblymember, Congressman, everybody here. I don't want to pick and choose people because everybody's important. Caltrans, huge shout out to you guys, and continue the work. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. We're really grateful. Let's check in with Supervisor Masson. Supervisor Masson, you want us to come back? We'll come back to you in just a moment. Let's look to closing words with Mr. Mattioli. Mr. Mattioli, why don't you just give us one more timeline for the next big milestone, getting that environmental report, that draft done, and what that's going to look like in 2023. And also give us one last quick update, as we've had some folks come in and out of the meeting. When do you see both lanes open? We'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mattioli, to finish us out.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. So the draft environmental document is expected to be circulated. We're on track to circulate it in late 2023. We will have a public hearing for that circulation. And following that, we'll be able to select an alternative in 2024. And as far as the current efforts, we expect in early 2023, the current walls will be completed and traffic will be reopened to two-way traffic at that point.
Absolutely. Mr. Mattioli, 2023 is going to be a big year for this project.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of things happening, a lot of work happening behind the scenes. We want to continue to be accountable and transparent. If I could just give a shout out, please, to our website, and our team does a lot to maintain that, lastchancegrade.com. We have updates up on there, any social media activities. And if you have any further questions that weren't answered tonight, please send them our way. We have an email there, and we'll do our best to answer those timely and add those to our frequently asked questions. So it's really important that we're accountable directly to you, the people that have paid enough attention and spent your evening listening to this. So very, very grateful to you. And thank you, Senator.
Mr. Project Manager, Jamie Mattioli from Caltrans, we are grateful for your incredible work. To the entire team at Caltrans District 1, we truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's turn it over to Supervisor Masson for closing comments. Supervisor, the floor is yours.
And I just want to say how appreciative I am of our partners, the Congressman, the Senator, the Assemblyman, Caltrans, our state and national parks. This partnership is what is going to ensure that we will receive that funding on the federal and state levels. And it's through this kind of creative partnerships that things will happen for us and that this solution will be made. And so just want to thank you all for the hard work that's been done to this point to ensure that we stay on target and that we continue to make the progress forward. It's your work that's ensuring that this is going to happen.
Thank you so much. No, thank you, Supervisor. It's so good to have you there. We're really grateful for your partnership and your hard work and your leadership. We're going to wrap up our annual town hall, and we want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We started out with 109 folks. We still have 74 on the line, so thank you so much. Just closing comments. Back in 2015, Senator Wood and Congressman Huffman and I heard that the last chance grade, as far as funding, was a dead end to nowhere. A lot of empty promises, nothing is ever going to happen. And when we fast forward now to 2022, we have the $50 million in the bank. We're on time and on budget, and we're setting this project up for long-term success. This has been one of the biggest challenges that has ever faced Delaware County, is this unstable highway corridor. And it is going to change. It's going to change as long as we keep working together. In these highly partisan times, there's one issue that can bring us all together here in Del Norte and the North Coast, and that's the last chance grade. No matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, I think we can be unified on what we need for a long-term economic success for the North Coast is to keep this damn highway open and to continue to move forward on this project. And feel confident that we are going to get this job done. We're going to get it done by continuing to work together. And as Senator Wood said it best, thank you for your patience. You have been so incredibly tolerant of the temporary closures, of dealing with one lane and impeded traffic control. And we're really grateful for your patience, your perseverance. And I promise you, Senator Wood promised you, the Congressman promised you, we are going to get the job done. We got to get through this process first, and we are chasing those dollars even as we speak. A few thank yous tonight. We want to say thank you so much to Abby. We want to say thank you to Sophia and Lyles and Carrie and Rich, who were behind the scenes. We want to say thank you so much to Aaron and to Ruth, and of course to John Driscoll, who is here tonight. All of those who are behind the scenes to make sure that this event was a success. If you have any further questions, please never hesitate to call the Congressman's office, the Assembly member's office, our office, or Caltrans District 1, and we will get right back to you. Thank you so much for your hard work. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and let's get this job done. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.